Who was better, the Beatles or the Bee Gees? A journey through the legacy of two music giants. If there is one question that sparks passionate debate among music lovers worldwide, it is this. Who was better, the Beatles or the Bee Gees? Two British groups who not only defined their respective eras, but also reshaped the concept of success, innovation, and longevity in the music industry. Both are legendary. Both are revolutionary. But to fairly understand who is better, we must go beyond the rivalry of fans. We need to dive deep into the essence of each band, understand their legacies, their strengths, their contributions to music, and, above all, recognize that despite the comparisons, each one shined in their own universe. The Beatles, the revolution of modern music. Formed in Liverpool in the late 1950s, the Beatles, John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr, are undoubtedly the most famous band in music history. Their impact was so immense that they influenced not only music, but also culture, fashion, behavior, and the way young people saw the world. The best of the Beatles. Innovation, revolution, and groundbreaking creativity. They turned rock into art. Before the Beatles, pop and rock music were often seen as simple, sometimes disposable. With them, songwriting gained depth, meaning, poetry, and experimentation. Albums like Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, widely regarded as one of the greatest albums of all time, prove that rock could be as sophisticated as any classical music. Pioneers of concept albums. The Beatles were among the first to think of an album as a complete artistic work, not just a collection of songs. Every track was part of a concept, a sensorial and musical experience where lyrics, melodies, and arrangements were perfectly interconnected. Unparalleled musical diversity. They mastered countless styles: rock, folk, psychedelia, blues, ballads, Indian music, Baroque pop, avant-garde, and experimental sounds. Every album was a surprise. The Lennon-McCartney partnership. One of the greatest songwriting partnerships in history. Together, they created hundreds of songs that remain benchmarks of creativity, harmony, and genius. Cultural impact. More than musicians, the Beatles were cultural icons. They shaped behaviors, dictated fashion trends, influenced social and political movements, and paved the way for artists to gain more creative freedom and control over their own music. Constant reinvention. In just a single decade, they evolved from a simple rock band singing love songs to creators of sophisticated masterpieces. Their ability to reinvent themselves was unprecedented.
When I touch you, I feel happy inside. It's such a feeling.
Bee Gees, masters of harmony and reinvention. If the Beatles were the greatest band in history, the Bee Gees, brothers Barry, Robin, and Maurice Gibb, were the masters of longevity, reinvention, and vocal harmonies. While the Beatles had a career span of just over a decade as a group, the Bee Gees shined for more than 4 decades, delivering hits that transcended generations and musical styles. The best of the Bee Gees: harmony, versatility, and resilience. The greatest vocal harmonies in music history. If the Beatles were masters of instrumental innovation and arrangement, the Bee Gees were unmatched in vocal harmonies. The unique blend of Barry's falsetto, Robin's distinctive vibrato, and Maurice's flawless harmonic support created a sound signature instantly recognizable worldwide. Absolute reinvention. While the Beatles reinvented themselves within a single decade, the Bee Gees reinvented themselves multiple times over 4 decades. They began with romantic Baroque-influenced ballads in the 1960s, shifted to soft rock in the early 1970s, and when disco seemed like a passing trend, they didn't just join the genre, They became its undisputed kings, architects of disco music. The album Saturday Night Fever, 1977, featuring hits like Stay and Alive, How Deep Is Your Love, Night Fever, and More Than a Woman, transformed disco music into a global phenomenon. They single-handedly rescued a struggling music industry at the time, selling over 50 million copies with this soundtrack alone. Unmatched longevity. Unlike the Beatles, who disbanded in 1970, the Bee Gees remained active until Maurice passing in 2003, with Barry and Robin continuing the legacy for several more years. They thrived through different decades, trends, and styles, always adapting. Brilliant songwriters for themselves and others. When they weren't topping the charts as performers, they were doing so as songwriters. The Bee Gees wrote global hits for artists like Barbra Streisand, Diana Ross, Dionne Warwick, Kenny Rogers, Dolly Parton, and many more. Few artists have ever achieved this level of success, both behind the scenes and center stage. Emotional and professional resilience. They endured the tragic loss of a younger brother, faced declines in popularity, and were mocked during the backlash against disco. Yet they always rose again, reinventing themselves and proving that their talent and love for music were stronger than any criticism. Comparing two giants. Who was better? Popularity and cultural impact. The Beatles. Unmatched in terms of global cultural influence. They didn't just change music, they changed the world. Bee Gees. Absolute music giants, especially during the disco era, and respected for decades, but without the same broad cultural revolution the Beatles sparked. Musical quality. The Beatles. Masters of musical innovation, experimentation, and genre diversity. Bee Gees. Masters of vocal harmonies, emotional depth, and creating timeless songs that cross generations. Longevity and ability to reinvent. The Beatles. Incredible reinvention, but within a single decade. The Bee Gees. Reinvented themselves across 4 decades, mastering multiple genres and remaining relevant far longer. Songwriting mastery. Both are songwriting geniuses, but the Bee Gees hold a unique edge. Beyond their own hits, they transformed the careers of countless other artists through their songwriting. Conclusion. Is there really a better one? The truth is, comparing the Beatles and the Bee Gees is like comparing Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo. Both were geniuses in their fields, but with different purposes, talents, and missions. If the metric is cultural innovation and transforming the music world, the Beatles take the lead. If the metric is longevity, resilience, vocal mastery, and adaptability, the Bee Gees are unbeatable. Both carved paths that changed the music world forever. Every Beatles chord shaped the future of rock and pop. Every Bee Gees harmony warmed hearts and filled dance floors across decades. And perhaps the best answer isn't who was better, but rather, how lucky we are to live in a world where both existed. Subscribe.
It's been